And thank you to Minister English joining us here today, this evening. And I want to welcome this crucial discussion, I really do, on this private members' bill brought forward by Senator Alice Mary Higgins and by Senator Lynn Ruane. I know that we've had an opportunity to discuss as well, Senator Higgins, very quickly, very briefly that time, and not in the time that's needed to discuss a topic of this importance. I suppose, to be very clear, I want immediate access for people around the world, particularly in low-income countries, to vaccines. I want immediate access. And I also remember the complete and utter joy that I felt when I heard about the vaccines being developed for the first time last year. I remember that. I remember reading about the couple in Germany, first generation from Turkey, that were researchers in Germany that were working in BioNTech and that developed this. I remember thinking how amazing it was that we were seeing people who had immigrated to another country and within the space of one generation, you know, were top-class researchers, had got these amazing qualifications and working within probably one of the top sort of pharma companies there, a startup that started out. And that they had done this, based on the shoulders of so many researchers that had come before them and that had developed these vaccines. But we also saw when that vaccine came out that production was not equal across many of the pharma companies that were developing and delivering these vaccines. A number of vaccines came to the fore. And we saw that there were challenges in delivery and production within these facilities. This did happen last year. This did happen. There were challenges there. I know that I've also looked in and engaged, I suppose, in terms of the research behind this topic, that there are many challenges to the immediate, because that is what we want to see. These vaccines, people need them across the world right now. We need ramp up in existing manufacturing facilities. And yes, we've spoken as well about how there are other facilities that we could have put on stream in other countries. But I see what happened last year. I see what happened last year in existing production facilities that could not meet demand. And I suppose on a really practical level, I wonder how would this happen if we were going to be looking at brand new production facilities, which I know we had spoken a bit about before. I suppose the other element that I would really bring to the fore here as well is that, our pharma companies, yes, have to step up. And I suppose this, Minister, is where Ireland does have a wonderful position. We have a position within the United Nations. We have a position in the European Union. We have our Minister for Foreign Affairs, Minister Simon Coveney, that has driven our position at a global level within the United Nations. And we do have a voice, and that voice is being used. That voice is being used to ensure that we get vaccine access. Because if we don't have access, there is not going to be equity. And we need it as soon as possible, as quick as possible. And that is something, I suppose, Minister, that I would be looking to see that the government is going to be fighting on, and fighting on all of our behalves, because every single person in this chamber wants the same thing. We want our loved ones to be safe, but it's not good enough. It's not good enough when we see the variations of Omicron and all of these other mutations that are coming at us, where we know now that our immunocompromised are now looking at a 4th dose, never mind a 3rd dose, and that, the time between these vaccinations. It has to be a case that these vaccines are immediately available. Minister, in the World Trade Organization, Ireland is one of 164 members. You might perhaps speak to us about how it is driving change within these types of agreements, because from what I understand, it's consensus only. How do we drive that type of change? How do we get immediate access now by looking at compulsory licensing? How do we force our pharma companies to take more proactive parts and participation here as well? Minister, this conversation has brought up many matters of concern. I think that Ireland as a country, though we be small, we have a strong voice. We have positions in very influential bodies, and I look forward to your response, Minister, in relation to this as well.